Our press secretary gave alternative facts. That was Kellyanne Conway's defense of the Trump administration's claims about the size of the crowd at the 2017 presidential inauguration. In that moment, on January 22nd, 2017, I knew that post-truth politics, where emotional appeal and subjective beliefs overshadow objective facts, had truly taken hold. We had fully entered an era of widespread debate about truth, misinformation, and the nature of discourse. As Michiko Kakatani writes in the book, The Death of Truth, with this embrace of subjectivity came the diminution of objective truth, the celebration of opinion over knowledge, feelings over facts. I want to be clear. My words this evening are not a criticism directed at the right or the left. It is a concern about extremism versus rationalism. Michal Cutler-Wunsch, who spoke here last month, criticized the views of the far left, especially concerning Israel, noting that slogans like Zionism is racism or Israel is an apartheid state are factually unfounded, ignoring essential historical context. Or, as Chuck Todd said to Kellyanne Conway, alternative facts are not facts, they're falsehoods. The rise of alternative facts has led to the normalization of misinformation, polarization, and confirmation bias, eroding trust in ways that go far beyond politics. The Edelman Trust Barometer has been measuring trust for decades, and the results are concerning. Trust in the Canadian government was as high as 60% in the late 1960s and early 70s. Today, only 17% of Canadians express trust in politicians. And it's not just government. Trust in Canadian media sources, like newspapers and broadcasters, has also declined, with only 40% of Canadians reporting trust in media in 2023. How did we get here? And how can we reclaim a more honest, thoughtful, and reasonable debate about the complex issues that impact us so profoundly? To understand the roots of the current challenges with truth, we have to look back. The death of truth didn't begin with Kellyanne Conway, the far left, or even social media. While this concept may seem new, societies have actually grappled with distortions of truth for millennia. In The Art of Thinking for Yourself, Robin Reams, a rhetorical scholar from the University of Illinois at Chicago, explores how the misuse of rhetoric destabilized ancient societies. She describes how the sophists, ancient Greek teachers of rhetoric, could manipulate language to make any argument compelling, even if it was fundamentally flawed. Gorgias, a famous sophist, argued once that nothing exists, a claim meant to illustrate that a skilled rhetorician could convince people of anything, even the impossible. The Greeks understood the power and danger of language. They saw how rhetoric could be wielded to obscure the truth, just as we see today. And yet, thousands of years ago, our own ancestors grappled with the nature of truth. A midrash that Rabbi Lara shared on Rosh Hashanah is worth repeating on this Kol Nidre. When God was about to create the first Adam, the first human being, The ministering angels divided into various factions and groups. Some of them were saying, let him be created. And some of them were saying, let him not be created. Kindness said, let man be created as he performs acts of kindness. Truth said, let him not be created, for he is full of lies. Righteousness said, let him be created, for he'll do acts of righteousness. Peace said, let him not be created, as he is full of discord. What then did God do? God took truth and cast it down to the earth, where it broke into pieces. This act symbolizes that truth, while vital, is not solely a heavenly attribute. Here on earth, truth is often fragmented and subject to human interpretation. In sharing this idea with my daughter, Michelle, she asked a great question. She asked, why is it that peace, which also argued against humanity's creation, remained in heaven? That question is what I call a tuition validation moment. The image of peace, staying in heaven, conveys a powerful message. Peace is not innate to human existence. If it had come to earth, it might suggest that we could all effortlessly live in harmony. But as it is, peace is something that we have to strive for, balancing it with justice and truth. A midrash in Pirkei Avot teaches us this balance. Al shosha devarim ha'olam omed, says the midrash. But the answer of this particular version is different than the most common one. This version, at the end of the first chapter of Pirkei Avot, says that the world stands on three pillars: al hadin, on justice; al ha'emet, on truth; ve'al ha'shalom, and on peace. Truth is central to our ability to achieve both justice and peace, which is why perhaps it was cast down to earth, reminding us that while peace is the ideal, truth is essential for sustaining a just world. Our tradition teaches us that the absence of truth can lead to tragic consequences. The Talmud cautions that falsehood is a gateway to sin. Mitch Albom, who visited us last February, illustrated this in The Little Liar through the story of Nico Crispus, a young Jewish boy in Nazi-occupied Greece. Nico is manipulated by a German officer, Udo Graf, to deceive his community, telling them that they are going to be relocated to new homes, rather than revealing the grim reality that awaits them. Believing he is helping, Nico unwittingly leads his family, friends, and others onto trains bound for Auschwitz. Speaking to us about this story, Mitch remarked, "The Nazis destroyed truth. When we lose truth, we can even trick people into marching to their own deaths." This theme is found in the story of the Maharal of Prague, who created the Golem to protect the Jewish community from the anti-Semitism of its day. The Golem came to life with the Hebrew word emet, truth, inscribed on its forehead. But when it grew too powerful and began to threaten the very Jewish community it was created to protect, the Maharal removed the first letter, the Aleph, changing emet to met, to death. This transformation reminds us of the delicate balance between creation and destruction. It reminds us how truth, even in its powerful form, must be handled responsibly. Our tradition teaches that we have a communal responsibility to uphold truth. The vidui, the confessionals that we recite over and over and over again on Yom Kippur, are an act of truth-telling, both to God and to us. In the Al-Chet, we say, Al-Chet shechatanu lefanecha bepeh dover sheker, for the sins we have committed before you by speaking falsely. And we admit, Al-Chet shechatanu lefanecha bechashsha uvechazav, for the sin we have committed before you in denying and in deceiving. Note, the vidui is in the plural. We, not I. I may sin through falsehood, but we have a responsibility to uphold truth. But how can we uphold truth in a world of alternative facts and misinformation? Reams offers a way forward through the art of questioning. By slowing down and asking questions, we can change the trajectory of our disputes. Aspasia, an ancient thinker from Miletus, inspired the philosophers Socrates and Plato with her skillful questioning. She asked questions that sought convergence, not division. To accept information without question, Reams argues, is to accept blindness. Only through questioning do we see the world as it truly is. By asking genuine questions, we create space for dialogue and for understanding, bridging the divides that sometimes seem insurmountable. Asking questions is very Jewish. A young person goes to the rabbi and asks, "Rabbi, why do Jews answer a question with another question?" The rabbi thinks for a moment, shrugs, and replies, "Why not?" More seriously, Yitzhak Rabin, the Nobel-winning physicist, credited his success not to his education, but to the questions his mother would ask him every day after school. Instead of asking, "What did you learn today?" she would ask, "Izzy, did you ask a good question today?" Rabbi's mother instilled in him a fundamental truth. Knowledge is not passive. True understanding comes from the continual search for truth and from questioning, challenging, and engaging in the world. The Talmud praises the machloket l'shem shamayim, the dispute, the argument for the sake of heaven, as exemplified by the debates of Hillel and Shammai. Though they disagreed on just about everything, they shared a common quest and commitment to truth, which often led to compromise. In contrast, Korach's rebellion is cast as an example of a dispute she'eno l'shem shamayim, that's not for the sake of heavens, that leads rather to destruction, driven by ego rather than truth. When we engage in disagreements, the questions we ask can shape whether our debates build community or tear it apart. Reams highlights 4 stasis questions derived from the Roman rhetorician Cicero. Questions of fact, definition, quality, and policy. 4 questions. When I read this, I got very, very excited. I know 4 questions. Ma nishana laila zeh. It shouldn't have been so surprising. The Haggadah, after all, is based on the Roman Symposium. But it was exciting because this I can understand. Questioning in our tradition is not only encouraged, but it's central to the practice of Judaism, education, and personal growth. And learning the art of asking a good question can help us diffuse polarization and discord in our lives, in our families, in our neighborhoods, amongst our people, and in the world? What are some of the questions that we can ask in our daily lives to help us navigate this polarized moment in history? Well, how about clarifying questions? Questions that show our desire to listen and to build trust. Can you tell me more about what you mean? Or reflective questions. How might my biases be influencing my perspective? These questions encourage self-awareness, reminding us that no one is above error. Or values-based questions that bring us back to our shared humanity, allowing us to find common ground, especially when we disagree. What values are important to you in this situation? The next time you find yourself in a space in which difficult questions are taking place, whether among family, friends, co-workers, think of Isaac Rabi's mother. Rather than responding to the debates that frustrate and anger us with more frustration and anger, let's reclaim the machloket l'shem shamayim, the argument for the sake of heaven. Did you ask a good question today? Yom Kippur challenges us to reclaim truth. Through confession, reflection, and seeking forgiveness, we confront how we have strayed from honesty and integrity. This sacred day challenges us to ask hard questions of ourselves and of others. Where have I failed to live truthfully? And how can I restore trust? Let us commit to challenging the information we encounter, to seek out diverse perspectives, and to engage in discussions and debate with humility. By recommitting to truth, we renew our connections to God and each other, striving to live authentically in the year ahead. In a world filled with alternative facts, let us be a people of genuine questions, pursuing truth and seeking peace. Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, as we begin Yom Kippur together, may we be guided by your wisdom to pursue truth with humility and to engage in dialogue with kindness. Help us to ask questions that foster understanding, to build bridges rather than barriers, and to seek peace even amidst discord. May our words honor your truth and our actions reflect our shared commitment to a world rooted in justice, shalom, and emet, truth. Amen.